When the United States built the very first nuclear bomb on Earth, it believed itself the undisputed ruler of the globe, beyond anyone's reach. But that idea proved false. That solitary detonation ignited a perilous worldwide contest. And right now, 10 nations hold the secrets needed to construct atomic weapons. Certain countries assisted one another while others resorted to theft. Still, every single one depended on intelligence agents, cunning schemes, and covert pacts. In today's video, we will examine exactly how these 10 nations acquired the most lethal technology humanity ever created. We'll also look at the countries that nearly succeeded in developing it, along with those positioned next on the nuclear weapons roster. The entire narrative really kicks off in Germany during 1938. This marked the moment scientists uncovered nuclear fission initially. They discovered that shattering atoms could generate enormous power via chain reactions. That revelation rattled the global scientific establishment completely. The year after, Albert Einstein issued a serious alert to the United States. He notified the American authorities that the Nazis might convert this novel discovery into an instrument of war. Due to his cautionary message, the priciest and most clandestine scientific undertaking in history got underway. America initiated the Manhattan Project. It represented a colossal endeavor that brought together scientists from the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. They devoted close to 1% of their entire GDP toward this solitary objective. They recognized that opposing German forces were already engaged in a similar endeavor, yet the Germans achieved remarkably limited progress. Germany capitulated in May 1945. And up to that point, they had failed to produce a nuclear bomb. However, come July 1945, the planet transformed permanently. During the Potsdam Conference, American President Harry Truman, Joseph Stalin, and Winston Churchill deliberated on the post-war global order. Amid those discussions, Harry Truman received a confidential update. The Trinity test conducted in New Mexico had succeeded. America had emerged as a nuclear-armed state. President Truman informed Stalin that the United States now owned a nuclear bomb. He anticipated visible astonishment from Stalin, but Stalin merely nodded and voiced hope that America would employ it versus Japan. Truman remained unaware that Stalin possessed prior knowledge. Soviet intelligence operatives had penetrated deep inside the Manhattan Project. Behind closed doors, Stalin seethed with rage that America had beaten him to the invention. In August, America unleashed 2 nuclear bombs upon Japan, thereby concluding the Second World War. Nevertheless, as the fallout from those explosions dissipated, an entirely new rivalry commenced. The Soviet Union emerged as the second nation to enter the nuclear fraternity. Their investigations commenced in 1941. They only grew truly alarmed upon observing that American and British researchers had abruptly ceased publishing articles on nuclear physics. They deduced that the research had shifted to classified status. Witnessing the ruin inflicted on Japan accelerated their program to maximum velocity. They had pilfered substantial quantities of American information, yet one significant obstacle persisted. They remained deeply distrustful. They feared American double agents might deliberately feed them inaccurate details to undermine their efforts. Consequently, they refrained from placing complete faith in the pilfered blueprints. They apprehended German scientists and used them to authenticate the entire body of research. They advanced far more rapidly than Western analysts had anticipated. In 1949, the Soviets exploded the RDS-1 device in Kazakhstan, thereby terminating America's sole dominance. The arms race within the Cold War had now formally commenced. You probably assume the third country would be the United Kingdom. After all, the British were close allies of the Americans. They had already completed considerable foundational work. However, per the Quebec Agreement, they were obligated to transfer all such research to America. The pact explicitly required mutual technology sharing between the two nations. But in 1946, America unilaterally abrogated that agreement. They enacted legislation that severed all exchanges of nuclear-related information. They intended to monopolize the atomic secrets themselves. Britain felt utterly stunned. They concluded that preserving their status as a great power demanded independent action. They retained the planet's largest uranium reserves along with substantial expertise. They proceeded with remarkable speed. In 1952, the UK detonated its inaugural bomb along the Australian coastline. The operation received the name Hurricane, and thus, Britain joined the ranks of nuclear states. But the landscape was evolving rapidly. The devices dropped on Japan relied on fission. During the 1950s, scientists pursued a far deadlier innovation. They engineered thermonuclear weapons, commonly referred to as hydrogen bombs. Instead of fissioning atoms, these weapons fused them. Such devices possess destructive power hundreds of times greater. Prominent scientists, including had multiplied by a factor of 1,000. The fourth nation to develop a nuclear bomb became France. France endured profound humiliation during the Suez Crisis. It perceived the superpowers as deliberately constraining its influence. France resolved that possessing its own deterrent was essential to claim true European superpower standing. The United States vehemently opposed France acquiring nuclear arms and actively sought to prevent it. Nevertheless, President Charles de Gaulle remained resolute. He declared that nuclear capability was vital for safeguarding French sovereignty. France began procuring uranium supplies from its colonies, including Madagascar and Gabon. Even while still recovering from World War II devastation, French scientists toiled relentlessly. In 1960, France carried out its first nuclear detonation in the Algerian Sahara Desert. Known as Gerboise Bleu, that explosion conveyed a clear message to Washington and the international community. France no longer required American military protection. The fifth entrant was China. China desired safeguards against American threats. At first, the Soviet Union provided assistance regarding China as a fellow communist ally, but bilateral relations deteriorated sharply. Soviet Premier Khrushchev publicly denounced Stalin's heritage and pursued improved ties with the West. Mao Zedong viewed this shift as unacceptable. He condemned the Soviets for forsaking true revolutionary principles. The partnership fractured, prompting the Soviets to retract all technical assistance. They left China to resolve the remaining challenges independently. During that era, China endured its massive cultural revolution, yet they directed every available resource toward nuclear weapon development. In 1964, China detonated its initial atomic bomb at Lopnur Lake, astonishing the entire world. They followed up swiftly with yet another jolt. Merely 2.5 years later, they successfully tested a hydrogen bomb. This represented the swiftest transition, from rudimentary fission device to sophisticated fusion weapon, achieved by any nation. The sixth entry on this roster stands as the most enigmatic: Israel. Israel has consistently declined to officially acknowledge possession of nuclear weapons. Starting in the 1950s, Israel constructed a clandestine nuclear installation in the Negev desert, aided by France. American reconnaissance aircraft detected the building activity. President John F. Kennedy expressed intense displeasure and demanded access to inspect the site. Israel rejected the request and offered no comment. They erected phony barriers and concealed elevators to obscure the subterranean bomb production areas. John F. Kennedy passed away prior to halting Israel's progress. His successor, Lyndon B. Johnson, adopted a strongly pro-Israel stance. It is widely accepted that Israel attained nuclear capability by 1967. The international community received definitive proof many years later in 1986. A technician called Mordecai Vanunu, employed inside a secret Israeli complex, captured photographs of the installation and clandestinely exported them. He supplied the material to a British publication. However, before the expose could appear, Israel's Mossad intelligence service located him. A female operative masqueraded as an American tourist visiting London. She engaged Vanunu romantically and persuaded him to travel to Rome for a weekend getaway. Immediately upon his arrival in Rome, agents sedated him, abducted him, and transported him back to Israel. He endured 18 years of imprisonment. Owing to his bold action, the world finally understood that Israel indeed possessed nuclear power. India became the seventh. Surrounded by China and Pakistan, after 1962 defeat to China and border clashes, India used a Canadian reactor, claiming peaceful use. In 1974, they tested Smiling Buddha as a peaceful nuclear explosion. The world was shocked. Canada and US imposed sanctions. India paused, then in the 1990s built a full weapons program with a no first use policy. Never strike first, only retaliate. South Africa's story is unique. Eighth, isolated by apartheid in the 1970s, facing communist threats nearby, they developed weapons from vast uranium reserves. By the 1980s, they had 6 bombs. A 1989 Indian Ocean flash is believed a joint test with Israel. After the Soviet collapse ended Cold War fears, they voluntarily dismantled everything, the only nation ever to do so, destroying designs and materials before a new government took over. Pakistan was 9th. After losing half its territory in 1971, Bhutto vowed the bomb even if people eat grass to match India. Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan stole centrifuge designs from Europe. China gave secret aid. The US ignored it for Pakistan's Afghan role against Soviets. In 1998, weeks after India's tests, Pakistan detonated 5 devices, restoring balance. Unlike India, no first use pledge. 10th, North Korea. The Kim regime built nukes for survival against US invasion fears. Early Soviet peaceful aid turned secret. They violated treaties, used Pakistani designs. First test 2006 was small, but they advanced. Tests in 2009 and 2013, hydrogen bomb by 2017. ICBMs reaching the US. Only nation to exit NPT before weaponizing. These 10 countries joined the nuclear club. Some others let the United States keep its weapons on their land. A few countries gave up their programs, like Argentina, Brazil, Sweden, and Switzerland. Israel destroyed Iraq's reactor in 1981 and Syria's in 2007 to stop them. Iran keeps working on enrichment, even after sabotage delays. Japan could build bombs very quickly. It has the plutonium and technology, but its peaceful constitution holds it back, for now. The real strength is hidden underwater. Submarines from the US, Russia, UK, China, France, and India can strike back even after an attack. This mutually assured destruction has kept the world from major nuclear war for 80 years. The technology started in Germany and reached these 10 nations. The designs are old and well known. The only thing stopping the 11th country is not science. It's the choice to do it or not. So, which country will be number 11?